There's a quiet difference between the way the average person approaches books and the way an intellectual does. And the distinction isn't about being pretentious or gatekeeping. It's about how you move through the world. Do you read to pass time, or do you read to think, reflect, and grow? In the next few minutes, I'll show you how the intellectual man treats books, audiobooks, and even e-readers, and why it matters. The average person consumes content, whereas the intellectual man cultivates attention. This difference is one of efficiency versus effectiveness. And it's one of the core dividing lines between a consumer and a thinker, between someone seeking distraction and someone seeking understanding. You see, books at their core are monotasks. In other words, they require your undivided attention. Maybe that's why fewer people today are reading compared to previous decades. You see, today, the average person is obsessed with multitasking, efficiency, and productivity. It's virtually all we see online, on Instagram, YouTube, and it's something books don't naturally lend themselves to. And this is the first fork in the road. The average person searches for ways to fit reading into their life, but the intellectual man shapes their life around that core habit of reading. Obviously, you can't be doing a household chore while reading, unless of course you're listening to an audiobook. And I understand why people gravitate towards this style of consuming books. Simple tasks and activities like washing the dishes or going for a walk don't immediately serve you up enough dopamine. So most people pair them with music, podcasts, or like I said, audiobooks. But be careful, because an audiobook is not the same beast as a physical book. An audiobook can make boring tasks like doing the dishes, cleaning your house, walking your dog, more entertaining. And for those productivity experts, this seems great. Not only are you getting your chores done, but you're getting the benefit of reading a book as well. And for many, that's an obvious win-win, right? Well, not quite. While this practice is undeniably more efficient, in my opinion, it's less effective. You see, when you multitask in this way, you're not multiplying your outputs, you're subtracting from them. And this is where the intellectual man draws a hard boundary. Here's what I mean by that. Firstly, when it comes to the book, most of us can relate to the experience of, okay, we're reading a book, and then maybe 10 minutes in, maybe it's 20 minutes in, maybe it's an hour in, our minds wander off for a moment, and we passively read a sentence or a paragraph before realizing that we have no memory of what we just read. So we go back and we read it again, maybe several times, and then we move on. Now, it's much harder to do this when listening to an audiobook. There's a little bit of friction. Instead of simply casting your eye up to the previous sentence, an action that takes a millisecond, if even that. With an audiobook, you would have to pull your phone out of your pocket, unlock it, and then rewind to the exact position you lost focus. And compared to a book, it's not always easy to identify where that is visually in an audiobook. So most people simply won't do this when they're using an audiobook, meaning they'll drift in and out. And by the time they finish, when they get to that last page, they've missed maybe 25% of that book. And that is something that an intellectual man would never allow. Because the intellectual doesn't read to finish, they read to understand. And understanding requires attention. Now, although this video is about books and audiobooks, I would regret it if I didn't take a moment to mention the negative effect this multitasking behavior has on the task side of things as well. Yes, I'll grant you that by pairing the audiobook with a task or chore, you've efficiently eliminated the boredom. But an intellectual realizes that boredom actually used to serve a purpose. Those quiet moments we used to have, standing in a queue, walking our dogs, doing the dishes, they allowed our minds to get to work on the important matters of our lives. Those are the moments that, for me personally, that's when my mind, seemingly out of nothing, will present me with ideas for videos, ideas for date nights with my wife, sometimes a solution to a problem I'm facing, either personally or professionally. You see, your mind needs time to think. And if you're a recovering doom scroller, you've probably experienced that feeling of brain fog. It feels like your mind is too overstimulated to think clearly. But once you put down the phone and embrace those quiet moments, it's like a strong wind comes out of nowhere and vanquishes that fog. You begin to feel and think more clearly. This is to say nothing of the health benefits, both mental and physical, for going for walks without ear pods in. Going on a walk with my dog is one of the most relaxing experiences for me. And it's relaxing primarily because I feel connected to the world. And that connection comes not just from what I see, but from what I hear as well. It might sound cringy, but the wind through the trees, the birds chirping, my dog panting as she runs about like a crazy animal, that's what relaxes me. And if you're out and about with ear pods in, it adds a barrier between you and society as well. You'll get fewer hellos, fewer how are yous, greetings of all types. People don't really greet or speak to passers-by who are obviously listening to something. They don't want to interrupt you. So here's a recommendation for going forward. Ditch the ear pods when you're out and reconnect with your community and your life. That's how an intellectual lives, present and engaged. Most people skim and forget, but the intellectual reads, writes, and returns. An intellectual annotates his books with his own reflections. One thing all serious readers hate is finishing a book and then a few weeks later, someone asks you what you thought of it or what it was like, and suddenly you can't remember. Maybe you've got the gist of it, but rather embarrassingly, you can't seem to speak in any intelligent fashion about the characters, the story, the themes, even one thing you learned about yourself or the world from the story. Now, the key to this, as many intellectuals know, is annotating your books. Now, for some of us, that might be difficult to start, as we feel like annotating our books is akin to graffiti. But remember, a book is inherently personal, and so is annotation. For your books that you find yourself coming back to, if you annotate them, you'll be able to see how your perspective has evolved over time. Personally, I use a pencil and the margins to annotate my books as I read them. And once I'm done with the first read through, I will actually go back all the way to the beginning of the book and I'll go through my notes, sort of skimming through the book a second time. And while doing that, I will construct a mini essay on the book. Now, this practice isn't for everyone, but it is a great way to collate your thoughts together and truly analyze a book and its meaning. And it ensures that you get as close to every last drop of knowledge out of that book. It ensures that you actually remember the book. And again, that is something that's difficult to impossible to achieve with e-readers and audiobooks. Most people use audiobooks as a distraction, but the intellectual man uses them as immersion. An intellectual is not a Luddite. Instead, they recognize that inventions like audiobooks actually have their place, provided they are treated as monotasks. One truly remarkable quality of some audiobooks is simply how engaging and immersive they can be. And I particularly find this to be the case for fiction rather than non-fiction. You see, if an audiobook has a talented narrator, it can absolutely transform the experience. Personally, one of my favorite fictional series is The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. The narrator of those books on Audible has so much fun with the voices of different characters, whether that's men, women, adults, children, or various accents from around the world. And it adds a layer of entertainment and immersion that's effortless to experience. Now, you could argue that with a traditional book, this work is done by your imagination. And fair enough, I'll not argue that point. But am I the only one that in the comfort of my own home sometimes likes to read books out loud and sometimes do the voices too? Maybe that's really weird, but maybe it's not. Maybe because it's part of our heritage. Thousands of years ago, we were gathered round a campfire, sharing our stories, our traditions and culture through myths, fairy tales and legends. All of it passed down from generation to generation through verbal storytelling before we came up with ways to transcribe and record these tales. Today, I think one of the last vestiges of this practice is the bedtime story, when parents tuck their children in at night and read them. Now, surely we'd all agree there's a world of difference between reading your child a bedtime story, maybe giving them a kiss on the forehead, versus saying, "Hey AI assistant, play the Gruffalo at 100% volume," before slamming the door behind you. So here's my recommendation for you. Next time you listen to a story, Do it while fully present. Treat it like a play, a performance, not a background experience, and you will feel the difference. Most carry convenience, but the intellectual displays beauty. You see, an intellectual realizes that books are for more than just reading. As I've said above, I don't think you should spurn inventions like audiobooks. But what about e-readers? Something like a Kindle. Now, for me personally, nothing beats a physical book. I think it's more aesthetically pleasing to observe someone reading a book than reading from a phone or a tablet. And although e-readers aren't as harsh on your eyes, I still think reading from paper is the healthiest option. But you might wonder, do I own a Kindle? Yes, I do. Okay, I won't lie to you, but I don't use it regularly. In fact, I save it for things like traveling abroad. For me, the convenience of not having to carry around large heavy books onto a plane or across the world, it's worth it. But aside from traveling, the reason an intellectual would never sell or get rid of all of his books and replace them with an e-reader is twofold. Firstly, with an e-reader, in many cases, you don't actually own the book. Even if you think you bought it, and the parent company, for example, Amazon, they might one day decide that your book is now banned, and you suddenly realize that you're denied access to it. And this is something that would never happen with a physical book, something you actually own and keep in your home. Secondly, books are often designed with beautiful hardback covers, and we show them off in bookcases in our homes. We don't hide them in closets. So there is an aesthetic aspect to them as well. And this is something an audiobook or Kindle can't really achieve. Nothing subtly reinforces your intellectual side and tells visitors to your home something about your interests, like a carefully curated collection of books that line your living room shelves. And best of all, there's something innately human about sharing books with other people. Sometimes you'll read a book and it will remind you of someone close to you, someone in particular. Maybe something they've told you that they're going through is something that that book deals with. Or maybe you just think they'd enjoy it because you know their sense of humor or their taste. A book is a much more sophisticated gift and more meaningful than a mug, a pair of socks, or a voucher from some restaurant. So folks, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below, do you prefer a physical book, an audiobook, or an e-reader? And what's one book you're reading right now that you're really enjoying? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.